Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder, and today is the day we've all been waiting for. The first full-length trailer for The Last Jedi has just been released. Today I'm going to do a full breakdown, analysis, and reaction, and I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to start off by dissecting the trailer scene by scene, talking about overall themes that run throughout, some little things that you may not have noticed, and just basically the things that I think are the most important. After that, I'll quickly talk about my reactions and how I feel about the trailer and the movie as it's shaping up. Thematically, this trailer is dramatic, it's violent, and it's intense, and that's in the themes that are being conveyed, the music, and the action sequences. It's also very, very emotional, and it's easy to get tied up in the whole spectacle of the thing. But if you want to glean as much information as you can from the trailer, I think it's important that we look at it with a keen eye, and that we consider especially the audio and the visual aspects independently and as a whole. I really believe that this trailer is most likely bamboozling us in several ways. Let's look first at the first line, and that comes from Supreme Leader Snoke. He says, "When I found you, I saw raw, untamed power. Beyond that, something truly special." The shots during the scene are mostly of Kylo Ren, but don't let that suggest to you that he's saying this to Kylo Ren himself. The trailer even hints at this, because right after he finishes this line, it shows a shot of Rey. Now, he could very well be speaking to Kylo, but we also know, based on later in the trailer, that he has a meeting with Rey, and it could even be referring to another Force user, perhaps Luke Skywalker. Let's now look at the first few seconds of visuals, and this trailer really focuses on technology, both on the Resistance side and the First Order side. We see what is at very least a large hangar, but appears to me to be some First Order production facility. This is, in my mind, very clearly Snoke's Mega Star Destroyer. We know that it's basically a mobile First Order operations base, and that's clearly what we're looking at here. We get a later shot of this scene as well, but here we can see that the First Order is producing, or at least has a large amount of AT-AT style walkers, along with AT-STs. On a related note, we actually did just see the First Order's smaller AT-AT style walker for the first time up close. Right now it doesn't have an official name, but it's just called the First Order Walker. Given that the Mega Star Destroyer appears to be Snoke's flagship, this is likely showing Kylo Ren either before or after his meeting with the Supreme Leader. Next we have a very menacing, very ominous shot of Craits. We see the new AT-M6 walkers, and in comparison, we see the much smaller AT-ATs. We also see what appears to be Kylo's shuttle hovering on its repulsor list, which is a very striking visual. Based on this shot and one we get later in the trailer, I think it's clear to me that this will not just be a rehash of the Battle of Hoth from The Empire Strikes Back, despite some obvious thematic similarities. Next we have a shot of a bareheaded Kylo Ren leading First Order stormtroopers through some sort of cave, and it looks like there's some sort of magma or some sort of geological activity there. I think there are two options. Either this is the location where we can see the book from the first trailer, or this is some sort of cave on Crait. However, to be honest, I've always seen Crait as a military location, perhaps one with highly strategic value, but I don't think it's something that Kylo Ren would be searching through like we see here. I do think the aesthetic kind of matches the location we see in the first teaser. If I had to guess, I would say that this is actually on Ahch-To, but that's a pretty wild speculation, so we will see. We now have a quick shot of Kylo Ren in Snoke's throne room. We can tell that it's Snoke's throne room because we can actually see some of his Praetorian guards standing in the back. With the end of Snoke's first line, we have Rey igniting her lightsaber, again kind of suggesting that this Star Wars movie may turn things on its head. The next key shot that I'd like to look at is the one with Rey approaching the book that we see in the teaser trailer. Again, not much to say about this, but I do think the aesthetic matches what we've seen earlier, so I do think it is likely that Kylo Ren and the First Order launch an assault on Ahch-To, and that's probably something that would happen fairly early on in the movie. Following that, we have likely my favorite scene in the trailer. This is the one that really made my jaw drop. Rey takes a swing at a rock as part of her lightsaber training, and we see that just her energy and force abilities cracks the ground. This leads into a scene of her meditating and Luke talking about raw strength. I'll expand on more on what he's getting to in a second, but I think it's very clear that Rey, and also likely Kylo Ren, are a completely new breed of powerful Force users, and there's something that the galaxy has never seen before. I think that this will help clarify and help fix a lot of the issues people had with The Force Awakens, both of them being extremely powerful with the Force, but not having really a lot of training. I mean, just look at Luke's eyes. He's been a Jedi for 30 years at this point, and he is one of the most powerful Jedi the galaxy has ever seen. He is showing fear based on Rey's power. He's said that he's seen raw strength like this only once before, making obvious reference to Kylo Ren, saying it didn't scare him enough then, but it does now, which is kind of an odd thing for a Jedi to say. You'd think they wouldn't want to focus on fear, perhaps apprehension, perhaps carefulness, but not fear, especially not of another Force user. We also see Luke emerging from a burnt down Jedi temple. The attack is worse than even I predicted. Luke seemingly may have got his ass kicked here, and he was likely presumed dead, at least by Kylo Ren. Again, it's obvious to me that Rey and Kylo are something completely new when it comes to the Force, tying into Snoke's line all the way back from the first trailer for the sequel trilogy.
There has been an awakening. Have you felt it? The dark side. And the light.
The music at this point is also really pounding and driving that emotional intensity. I love it. Regardless, we see that Luke is clearly apprehensive about training Rey, to put it lightly. We also see at this point that she's holding on to the edge of some sort of rock. There's been a long rumored sea monster battle as part of Rey's training. I think it's perhaps likely that this is right after that encounter, and that she has just put on some sort of magnificent display of power in the Force. Next we have shots of Kylo. I'm going to talk about the audio and then look at the visual aspects. He says, "Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. Were it so easy, Kylo." We know that he's been struggling with killing Han Solo. We see some of that in the Force Awakens novelization, and still he is clearly having some self-doubt, and he's having some real difficulty adapting fully to the dark side. As we saw in The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren is not our typical Star Wars villain. He is struggling from the call of the light side instead of the call of the dark side. I think it's very likely that in this movie, he serves as a mirror to Rey. We see this manifested visually with him putting his mask through what looks like an elevator wall, and then we get some of my favorite shots, the space battle scenes. We see first the New Republic / Resistance's new Mon Calamari cruiser, the Raddus. Next to that we see two other ships, one in the midst of being destroyed, which I think looks strikingly like the MC-75 variant from Rogue One, but is likely another variant of the Mon Calamari cruiser. Next to that we see what, as Space Doc pointed out on Twitter, may very well be a Nebulon K cruiser. However, purely based on its appearance, especially the notable wedge on the front, I think it's possible that this is the first actual appearance of the Starhawk. For those who don't know, the Starhawk is one of the New Republic's ultra-modern capital ships. It's basically a Star Destroyer taken apart and made better. It is possible to guess size, but I think it is possible that this is more of a light cruiser rather than a full-fledged heavy cruiser like you'd expect with something like a Starhawk. Later on in the scene we also see a new lighter capital ship as Kylo Ren attacks the Raddus with his TIE silencer and his squad of TIE fighters. He, like his maternal grandfather and his father, is an excellent pilot. We see him pull off some seriously impressive maneuvers. One's in fact harkening back to the Battle of Naboo. As he continues to assault the Raddus, we see a shot of General Leia Organa. However, I think that this is intentionally misleading. If you look behind her, the people in the background are very calm. I think that this is likely either a shot before she's attacked by Kylo Ren or she's on a different ship. But if you look at her face, it looks like she's connecting with him somehow through the Force, as she did with Luke on Bespin or with Han as he died. Regardless, the sequence is clearly suggesting that Kylo Ren has the chance to kill his mother, and as he did after the death with his father, he's having serious doubts. I don't think this is the case, and if it is, I think Kylo Ren won't be able to pull the trigger, literally. I think it's more likely that Snoke or someone else kills his mother, which becomes the defining feature of his character arc. We now see a battle through a crystal cave. I do believe that this is Crait, and I think it's actually distinct from the location we see earlier on in the film. Besides for the colors, the aesthetics don't really match. We know that Crait is a mining planet, and these are very likely the minerals that are featured there. It's been my guess that Crait is actually a kyber crystal mining planet, and that's why it's so important to both the First Order and the Resistance. We see some form of crystalline structures here. It's hard to say whether they're kyber crystals or something else, but I think that's interesting. Of course, we have Chewie, whose face looks like it may have a bit of CGI, and the Porg, who is really exceptionally cute. I want to take a second to talk about space battles now, because we have a few more shots from space sequences. I think it's very likely that there are 2 space battles in this movie, one around the planet of D'Qar and then the other around Crait. I could be wrong about this, but what I am fairly certain is that we will see 2 major battles. In one, we'll see the Raddus go against the Mega Star Destroyer. I guess this because in one of the shots with Kylo Ren attacking the ship, you can see the Mega Star Destroyer in the background. The other battle, and the one that we're getting a glimpse of here, I think is likely the evacuation of D'Qar. We see what very clearly appears to be transport ships being destroyed by an unseen enemy. One of these transport ships contains Poe, and perhaps at this point he's being further radicalized in his hate against the First Order. We also see shots of the New Republic or the Resistance attacking the other First Order dreadnought, the Mandator 4. This is the ship that has the large orbital bombardment cannons, so I think it's quite likely that this is the ship attacking D'Qar. This is actually kind of an interesting callback to the original trilogy. In the old expanded universe, after the destruction of the first Death Star, the rebel base on Yavin was assaulted heavily by the Empire. I think we're seeing something similar here. I will note that in a scene with Poe, you can also see Carrie Fisher's daughter, Billie Lourd, standing in the background. She plays the role of Caedal Co. Connix, who is a lieutenant in the Resistance. We also see Poe's boosted X-Wing, and he says we have a spark that will burn the First Order down. Not sure exactly what he's talking to. Perhaps they do some sort of atrocity on D'Qar or at some other point, which he thinks will mobilize the galaxy or invigorate the Resistance. It's hard to say exactly. We also see Finn fighting Phasma, a matchup which has certainly been due for a while now. Phasma has her spear, and Finn appears to have a stun baton. Hard to place this shot within the movie, but I think it's fairly likely that they're on the Mega Star Destroyer or some other ship. I get this just from the aesthetics and the fact that Finn is wearing some sort of officer's uniform, and we know that he goes undercover, so perhaps this is after he's been detected. He looks even sweatier and more hyped up than usual. Perhaps Rose has just been injured or killed, but that's a fairly wild guess. We then hear Luke telling Rey that this is not gonna go the way you think. This line is perhaps self-referential to the trailer, but it's also likely a warning to Rey just how easy the fall to the dark side is. He appears to be wearing a different outfit than we see earlier on, and he's in water. Hard to place this scene, but perhaps she's just kicked up a storm with her force powers or done something similar. Again, he seems reluctant to train her. We also see an ice pupper and Princess Leia standing at the gates of the base on Crait. We have Finn presumably being captured undercover. We have a shot of the inside of the First Order Mega Star Destroyer, where we again see AT-ATs, AT-STs, but also see TIE fighters. We also see the Battle of Crait, and I think the most interesting thing about this is that we see TIE fighters being shot down. Seems likely to me that the Resistance does have some sort of air force at the Battle of Crait. Perhaps they'll introduce a new starfighter, but they're trying to save it until later. We have Snoke then apparently torturing the crap out of Rey, saying you will fulfill your destiny. He's twisting her back there with some sort of force power. She's clearly in a lot of pain or stress. If my guess that Rey and Kylo are some new breed of force users is correct, then clearly Snoke is extraordinarily powerful because he's manipulating both of them, both physically and on a mental level, with ease. More about Snoke in the coming days, but he is clearly some sort of ancient, very powerful force, and other canon media suggest that he may be a threat from the unknown regions, but I'm really excited for his character. Then of course we have the final supposed team-up shot with Rey and Kylo. I think that this is obviously manipulated, 2 different scenes edited together, or it's some sort of dream sequence. The fact that we never see the 2 of them together and that we can't even be sure whether the location is the same makes it fairly clear to me, and I think that the people who edited the trailers know that, and they don't want to spoil something as large as a reunion like that. I think that is a pretty in-depth and pretty thorough scene-by-scene analysis. I want to now talk quickly about my thoughts on the trailer. First of all, and just on a very basic level, I really liked it. It's one of my favorite Star Wars trailers, in fact. I think it's spoiled a lot less than what people are thinking. I mean, we saw the misdirection that Rogue One used, and of course The Force Awakens did the same. Disney has been very good about not overplaying their hand when it comes to trailers. However, unlike some of the trailers for The Force Awakens, it didn't show us nothing, and we're getting an idea of some of the locations that are going to be visited, some of the main conflicts, and the movie is really shaping up to be excellent, and that's to say nothing about the visual style, which also seems to be very on point. I'm definitely a lot less scared of Crait being Hoth 2.0. I'm also fairly happy that we've seen capital ships in action other than just the Raddus and those resistant bombers. I will say though, based on not only this but also the poster that came out yesterday, I think that this movie is going to be completely different than anything else that we've ever seen, and I like the idea of Rey and Kylo being the new, more powerful breed of Force users. I like the idea of Snoke being some sort of ancient enemy, and I just like the way that the story and the movie itself seems to be shaping up. Hopefully they've left some surprises, I'm sure they have, and I really just can't wait to see the movie. Overall, I'd rate this trailer very highly, and I hope you guys enjoyed my breakdown and my reaction. Sorry it's a little late when compared to some other Star Wars YouTubers, but I had to sleep, I had to drive my fiance to work, life happened. On another note, I just want to say, everyone who uploads what they call an extended The Last Jedi trailer, but's really just this trailer with other teaser footage, is scum of the earth in my opinion. But that's just been something that's been bothering me for a while. Anyways, if in the future you guys want to keep up to date with my reactions or my thoughts on the latest Star Wars news, make sure to subscribe to my channel, follow me on Twitter, and join the Discord. As always, this has been EckhartsLadder. Thank you so much for watching, and hey, may the Force be with you.